The snowplow was already running when the tow truck backed into my driveway like it owned the place. Red lights strobed across the fresh snowfall, washing my garage door in blood and ice. "Kill the engine," a man shouted, gloved hand on his radio. "Vehicles being repossessed." I stepped down from the cab slowly, boots crunching. That's not how repossession works. Behind him, the cul-de-sac was still half asleep. Porch lights flicked on. Curtains twitched. The HOA president's Lexus idled at the corner, pristine, smug, exactly where it always parked during other people's problems. "This property has outstanding dues," the tow driver said, reading from his clipboard like scripture. "Unauthorized commercial equipment on residential land." I looked past him to the plow, my plow, still warm, salt dust clinging to the blade. I'd been clearing roads since midnight. County contract. Emergency routes. People alive because of it. "You shut that engine down," he said again, louder. I smiled. "Just a little. You really don't want to touch that truck." The HOA president, Gerald Pike, finally emerged. Camel hair coat. Perfect hair. The kind of man who weaponized bylaws because it made him feel large. "Mr. Hale," he called. "This could have been avoided if you'd paid your dues." "My dues are paid," I said. "They are not," he replied smoothly. "And the board voted unanimously." I glanced around. Snow still falling. Silence thick. Something felt off, not the dispute, but the speed. The certainty. They'd planned this. "You can't seize essential equipment during a weather emergency," I said. Gerald smiled. "Watch us." The tow driver moved closer to the plow's hitch. That's when I noticed the second truck down the street. Same tow company. And the third, idling by the entrance. This wasn't about dues. This was about removal. I pulled my phone out, snapped a photo. Gerald's smile faltered. "You recording?" he asked. "Documenting," I said. "Habit." He leaned in, voice low. "You don't belong here, Hale. This neighborhood has standards." I met his eyes. Cold. Calculating. "So do I." The tow truck's winch whined to life. I stepped between it and the plow. "Last warning." Gerald nodded once. "Take it." And just like that, the normal life I'd rebuilt, quiet mornings, hard work, no questions, cracked open. Snow fell heavier. Engines growled. And somewhere beneath the calm, something old and dangerous woke up. They thought they were seizing a snowplow. They had no idea who they'd just declared war on. By morning, the plow was gone. So was my mailbox. HOA notice taped to the door. Violation of community standards. Further action pending. I didn't call a lawyer. Not yet. Instead, I drove to the yard. The fleet sat in perfect rows, 18 trucks, 3 loaders, 2 salt spreaders, all humming quietly under fresh snow. My foreman, Lewis, met me halfway, worry etched deep. "They took Unit 7, he said. "County's already asking." "They will," I replied. "Tell them weather contingency. I'll handle it." I walked the line, hand brushing cold steel, eyes sharp. Unit 7 wasn't random. It was the one with the upgraded GPS, the encrypted dispatch module. The one tied into every other truck. They didn't want leverage. They wanted access. Back in my office, I pulled records, HOA bylaws, meeting minutes, property filings. Gerald Pike's name surfaced everywhere. New board members. Expedited votes. A Shell LLC providing community services. I followed the LLC. It led to a logistics firm. That firm led to a data contractor. And that contractor had a quiet federal subcontract stamped 3 months ago. Snow removal wasn't the business. Mapping was. My trucks ran every road, every alley, every access lane. Thermal data, timing, municipal weak points. Perfect cover. I checked the seized plow's telemetry. It was still broadcasting. I smiled grimly. That night, I drove the perimeter of the neighborhood. Cameras had doubled. New ones. HOA issued, they claimed. Funny thing, infrared lenses, military-grade housings. I slipped past the gate, parked dark, and watched Gerald's house. 2 men arrived just after 10. Not neighbors. No plates. In and out in 7 minutes. I recorded everything. Then I set a trap. Next morning, I filed a formal dispute. Slow, bureaucratic, boring. Let them think I was playing defense. Meanwhile, I rerouted the fleet's data through a private server. Let the stolen plow keep feeding them what they wanted. But I salted it. False gaps. Phantom routes. Snow that wasn't there. By day 3, Gerald was unraveling. Emails got sharper. Threats slipped through the legal language. By day 4, a county official called me directly. "We're seeing anomalies," she said. "Your data's off." "Funny," I replied. "So am I." That night, someone tried to break into the yard. They tripped the silent alarm. I watched from the dark as they froze, realizing too late they were on camera. Not HOA cameras. Mine. The conspiracy wasn't widening anymore. It was closing in. And they still thought I was just a guy with a plow. The HOA emergency meeting was scheduled for 7 p.m., right as the snow hit hardest. By 6:30, the community center parking lot was packed. Trucks idled. Neighbors huddled in coats, breath fogging the air, frustration boiling just beneath the surface. Power flickered once, just enough to make people uneasy. Inside, Gerald Pike stood at the front like a man clinging to a script. American flag behind him. HOA banner beside it. The illusion of authority perfectly staged. I slipped into the back row, unnoticed. No jacket. No paperwork. Just a small black flash drive in my pocket and my phone already recording. Gerald tapped the microphone. "Let's come to order. This meeting concerns ongoing violations that threaten the integrity of our—" "You mean the theft?" a man shouted from the crowd. Murmurs rippled. Gerald's jaw tightened. "The misuse of community property by Mr. Hale." That was my cue. I walked forward slowly, boots echoing. The room quieted, not because they respected Gerald, but because they recognized me. The guy who cleared their streets at 3 a.m. The guy whose plow had disappeared. "You stole emergency equipment during an active snow event," I said calmly. "Then you lied about why." Gerald smiled, thin and brittle. "These are serious accusations." "They're documented," I replied. I plugged the flash drive into the projector. The screen lit up. Emails. Contracts. Payment transfers routed through an HOA shell company. GIS overlays of the neighborhood, every driveway, every access road, every blind spot. A woman near the front whispered, "Why would the HOA need that?" "They wouldn't." "That data," I said, "was harvested through my fleet. You seized one plow because it was the relay. You thought I wouldn't notice." Gerald stepped back. "This is classified infrastructure work. You're endangering civilians." I cut in. "You already did." I switched slides. Audio played. Gerald's voice, unmistakable. "We can tolerate resident disruption if the grid coverage is clean." The room exploded. Shouts. Chairs scraping. Someone threw a binder. That's when the doors slammed shut. Lights cut. For half a second, there was nothing but darkness and panic. Then red emergency lights snapped on. 2 men moved fast from the side wall. Not residents. No coats. No hesitation. I met the first head-on, blocked his swing, drove my shoulder into his chest, sent him sprawling into folding chairs. The second grabbed for the projector cable. I caught his wrist, twisted hard. Bone popped. He screamed. Phones were up now. Recording everything. The doors burst open. County deputies flooded in, weapons drawn, eyes wide. On the ground. "Now." The 2 men complied. Gerald didn't. He stood frozen at the podium, face drained of color, mouth opening and closing like he was searching for a clause to save him. I walked up to him, voice low. "You thought this was about Jews," I said. "You thought I was just a contractor." He swallowed. "You don't understand. This goes higher than me." "I know," I said. I stepped back as deputies cuffed him. The room was silent now, stunned, shaken, awake. Snow hammered the windows. I unplugged the drive, slipped it back into my pocket. Meeting adjourned. By morning, the neighborhood looked different. Not cleaner. Not quieter. Lighter. The HOA banners were gone from the community center. The cameras mounted on street poles wore orange evidence tags, wires hanging loose like exposed nerves. Gerald Pike's Lexus was still parked crooked at the curb, abandoned, dusted with fresh snow like a bad memory no one wanted to touch. County trucks rolled in before dawn. Real ones. Inspectors. Deputies. People who didn't smile much and asked precise questions. They already had the flash drive. They wanted more. I gave them everything: logs, rerouted data, the salted feeds, the timestamps showing when my plow had been accessed remotely. They nodded, thanked me, wrote notes that wouldn't be shared. By noon, Gerald had been charged. Not HOA violations. Federal ones. Misuse of civilian infrastructure. Unauthorized data aggregation. Conspiracy. The news vans came and went fast. 30-second segments. Easy narrative. Corrupt HOA president exposed by local snowplow operator. David beats Goliath. Everyone loves that version. The board dissolved within hours. Emergency vote. Apologies slipped under doors. One neighbor brought me a casserole like it was 1995 and guilt could be baked away. The county reinstated my plow. Delivered it personally. Fresh paint. New seals. Too clean. Appreciate your cooperation, the official said. I nodded. Wasn't optional. That night, I walked the yard alone. The fleet sat idle, engines ticking as they cooled, steel hulks resting under floodlights. 18 trucks. Still. Quiet. I should have felt relief. Instead, something itched. 3 days later, Gerald pled out. No trial. No testimony. Closed session. The official story said he'd acted alone. Overreached. Greedy. A cautionary tale about power in small places. Too small. Lewis found me in the office that evening. County renewed the contract, he said. Expanded routes. More funding. I looked at him. Did they say why? He shrugged. Said they trust us. That it sharpened. After he left, I locked the door and sat in the dark. Snow started again, slow, steady, relentless. My computer chimed. New message. No sender. No subject. Just an attachment. A satellite image loaded on screen. High resolution. Recent. My yard. The fleet outlined in thin white boxes. Each truck tagged with a number I didn't recognize. Below it, a single line of text. You were never the target. You were the proof of concept. My phone buzzed immediately after. Unknown number. I didn't answer. Outside, engines started, one by one, as the night crew prepped for another storm. Headlights cut through the dark. Diesel roared to life. The roads would need clearing. People depended on that. Whoever sent the message knew it. I closed the laptop, stepped outside, and watched my fleet roll out into the snow, organized, efficient, unstoppable. Somewhere far beyond the neighborhood, someone was watching the same movement on a different screen. Mapping. Learning. Planning. And this time, they wouldn't bother with the HOA.